#1 show on YouTube, Planet X Film Works. You can click the store below to order your merch, and then many other links will be found in the description as far as what we've been up to lately. Today is Horizon, Costner's answer to Yellowstone. Maybe we'll get into some of the Yellowstone controversy. Horizon is 2024, I believe. It was like summer, guys, right? Summer, fall.
Yeah, and it had a limited theater run as well. It was only on the theaters for a couple of weeks, y'all.
Yeah, they pulled it right away, which was annoying. I would have liked to have made it regardless, just because I don't remember what last Western. Like you were saying, last Western I saw in the theater might have been Hateful Eight for me, and that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Or Django Unchained as well, I think.
Yeah, and that was way before Hateful Eight, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
but this is written, directed by, starring Kevin Costner. I thought another impressive directorial, even if your big thing isn't his acting or whatever, like the directing. This What Up Slipknot directing this movie is obviously top notch. We're doing Horizon, came out last summer. Slippy. I don't know if you're a Yellowstone guy or not, but we're probably going to get into a little bit of that as well. But yeah, as Gaz was saying, for this to get butchered by the critics and torn apart, I mean, honestly, it was a pretty hardcore R rating, Gaz. I mean, they got to the murder right away in that first raid. So I wouldn't be surprised if that turned off a lot of the critics. Like, oh my God, I wonder what happens when white settlers meet up with each other with American indigenous natives that live there in the American West. I'm sure it goes super peacefully and they just negotiate their way out of things.
Yeah, but I was trying to think. I'm not sure if this got in a theater. I think it did, because there was obviously Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight, and then there was that other. I'm sure Costner was in it. That other Western movie. We did review it before YouTube. And it culminated in they had the big standoff, the big duel at the end.
Hostels?
No, it was we did do that. There was another one.
Hostels was in theaters. I think. Where did I see that in theaters? No, maybe I didn't see Hostels in theaters. Can't remember now. I just can't remember my Westerns. I'm sorry. I know Slip had put up. Gaz has Event Horizon as a PXF classic. So I mean, at some point. I have seen a video I think I sent you and Mac about Event Horizon being in the Hellraiser verse, so that's something I enjoy.
This is as well. It's probably one of the best unofficial 40K movies that we've had as well. Just for what happens to Sam Neill, how you can see this kind of descent literally into chaos and demonology and so much more, man, and that's all I'll say. Yeah,
facts.
It's a classic.
Yeah, Yellowstone first 4 seasons were amazing, but after that, then Costner made Horizon, and it kind of seemed like there was no reason to watch Yellowstone anymore because it wasn't going to have Costner in it regardless. The closest thing that Yellowstone has to Horizon is 1886. Is that what it's called? Which I thought that was the best. 1883. 1883. That 1883 is a lot like Horizon, but Horizon takes place like I think was it 1856 in the movie, guys? So I think for Horizon takes place like 30 years before 1883. But ensemble cast, I mean, like Gaz was saying, I mean, it's absolutely stacked. Costner, Rooker, Luke Perry, the dude who was the villain in the Crow 2024, he's in it. Danny Huston, I think was his name. There's 10 or 20 known actors in this movie.
Yeah, Sam Worthington, Sienna Miller. So many.
Yeah,
Will Patton as well. Yeah.
Sam Worthington, I forgot. He's the Sarge of the American Company. Obviously, the native actors are amazing. They had a Apache language translator on set. Danny Huston's Colonel Albert Houghton, Colin Cunningham, Tom Payne was Hugh Proctor. He was grimy, like just seeing everybody like with their beards and their long hair, guys, is always so funny because they really Will Patton, an amazing actor. Like it's crazy stacked. It's difficult to even kind of break that down. There's just so many good characters and so many good actors. Didn't know they were a thing, but put them on my list.
There you go. We'll
them on
get back to you
Black
soon.
Friday Amazon wish list. You guys can gift them to me.
It was Hostiles was the last one we saw in theater. You're right.
I don't know if I made it to Hostiles in the theater. I was trying to remember. I can't even remember if I did. But Hostiles was absolute. I thought Hostiles was absolutely sick. So anyway, synopsis: Chronicles a multifaceted 15-year span of pre- and post-war Civil War expansion and settlement of the American West. As I said, guys, you're introduced early on to an American faction migrating across the expanse. They decide to have a dance party soiree. Goes badly when some uninvited guests in the form of an Apache contingent show up. That basically ensues in a 20-minute shootout and explosions. I think you guys can guess which side was the better.
It's a brutal opening. They literally don't shy away from anything.
None of the kills. Costner keeps it like most PG-13s. They do the cutaway. No cutaways from Costner.
Well, it's there with everything, and it's coming from when they're scouting out the settlement as well. I thought the whole scene kind of showed that. Sadly, the terror, the fear, the violence, which we'll later see from both sides as well, and how nightmarish it would be to be caught up in the middle of that as well. You can see that. So
the chaos.
Yeah, I thought one thing was good, and I know I talk about this pretty much on every review going. But when they're scouting the settlements and you've got the shot of it, I think that really serves it up for how we're going to see how the entire film is shot, just from that wide angle, whole range, and that was really good. And particularly when it was at night as well, they still captured that in the nighttime scene. Yeah,
I mean, I thought this might have been maybe arguably one of the strongest scenes, at least in this one, just in terms of directing, the amount of people all set, the pyrotechnics with the explosions. Like, it literally had everything, brutal warfare from the Apaches, tomahawks to the face, scalps, arrows. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Apaches are the ones with the poison arrows. They maybe haven't gotten to that yet, but they did explain it in 1883. It's completely ham. I don't want to ruin it, but I thought it started super strong. Now, later on, it's a 3-hour movie, so we'll have questions about the pacing and how to keep narratives of 30 active characters. There is a lot of jumping around between factions. I will say that much, guys. Like, it can be difficult to follow, like, who's this guy, because there's like 3 or 4 different factions.
Yeah, and I think as well, with some of the characters being a little stronger than others, you will probably pay more attention to those that naturally catch your eye more. You maybe think, this stands out a little more to me. But I will say this, it's not like you sat there thinking, oh man, this is going to be 3 hours of pain. As Ross just said, the opening's brutal. There is more action scenes, which we'll get into. They do try and build a gap between each of the so many characters, even when it's cutting from scene to scene. Regardless of whether anyone, likes this movie or not, the sheer scale, ambition, and the ambition with this as well, 4 parts, man, as you were saying, 12 hours each. I mean, man, that's insane. And
the scope, as Gaz said, is pretty astounding. But more importantly, like just like the cinematography, the directing. Like, honestly, I don't know if I've seen better cinematography than this year yet. Maybe a couple things had some good stuff, but maybe it's halfway through with all the yellow treetops, and it's just like that yellow hue background, like the color. In other words, the color correction, the grading of the landscapes and cinematography. You get a lot of that in Yellowstone, but at times in Yellowstone, the camera is almost too clean because it's like one of those like nice, like what is it? They're on Paramount or whatever. Yeah. So it's like one of those very like almost too clear. You know what I mean? Whereas Horizon still keeps that dusty hue. Like you feel like you're grimy in the West. Costner's character doesn't show up, I think, until the first hour. I thought that was a smart play.
Yeah.
It didn't really. It's not like he's directing himself and he's making it 100% of him.
Oh no, it's not a vanity project.
At least so far, his character is more just passing through, like more of a Riddick style cowboy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's cool. Sam Worthington's super dope. I'm always impressed with him every time I see him. You know, more and more each project. I haven't seen Whack Vitar, but everything else I've seen from him has. I just know that's a big one that he's in. But I mean, like all the other stuff
He was in the remakes of Clash of the Titans.
Yeah,
he was in both those movies. And okay, the first one is the best out of those two. And okay, they're not great movies, but he was decent. And that guy gives a performance, whatever he's given, whatever character he's going to play. And I thought, as the lieutenant in this, he really shined. He was one of my favorite characters in the movie. I mean, I've obviously got quite a few, but he definitely shone for sure.
Yeah, same. And even Luke Perry, I was starting to like him more and more at the end. Like I always like to see him play serious roles because like a lot of his stuff is like the comedies he did, and I don't think maybe his talent's not fully respected in those movies. But like something like this, almost like what's his name in that other 90210 dude in that was in Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I think he passed away, but he played like an amazing character in that movie. Like that dude, I think Luke's. Oh no, that's Luke Perry, right? And that's the kid Luke I was referring to as Luke was. Excuse me, I got my Luke's mixed up.
Yeah,
I was referring to Luke Wilson, but that actor's name is Luke Perry. Rest in peace. Similar type of thing, you know, where like they weren't really respected until those much later roles they took. Obviously, him and Tarantino.
I'm going to ask you this straight off the bat, man, before we get into anything else. Do you think this movie, and I know we've got the other three parts to come, but do you think then the series will be more respected and looked back upon favorably than those that maybe didn't quite feel it? I mean, we like it, but I've got a feeling it will be.
I think it's just people made for the classic Western genre. Like there's a lot of classic Western tropes in here. Like I don't know that you would see anything really 100% new to the Western genre in Horizon, other than the fact of like a massive like 40-person ensemble cast, which they even introduce all those extra characters at the very end there in the montage, as we were saying. But extremely well acted. I mean, we'll have to see what changed it up. It looks like the pace turns up quite a bit in the second one. I mean, it's it's pretty basic in this one, right? Because as we said, there's that first initial war party. Then the American army shows up, and that's outside of the territory of the protection of the American army. That sets up Sam Worthington's chapter, his faction of controlling the army guys. Then you have the Sykes family revenge arc, because right at the beginning, the first character you introduce is that lady who escapes him. She shot the Sykes patriarch twice in the shoulder. Those are the first characters you're introduced to. Obviously, some of his sons going after her because that is obvious, revenge arc. But he actually ends up living. So that embroils Costner's character Hayes Ellison into that story arc. So and then there's like the back and forth between the Apaches and those guys hunting them. So you have already like quite a few of those story arcs. So I don't know. I think I'd have to see exactly what their criticisms were. If it was just like, I guess they were saying it was unfocused, and chapter 1 ends semi-unfocused because we were saying it's a 3-hour movie with 30 characters that doesn't necessarily resolve every story arc. Now we already know we're getting chapter 2, so we have to see how much changes, in chapter 2.
Yeah, but some of the criticisms that I have read. There's been people have said a little too cluttered for them, too many characters, hard for them to keep track. But as we were talking about this off air earlier, to be fair, Costner has tried to really cram literally. I'll explain more on this later, but it is literally like a whole TV season, like into a movie and put everything in there. So I think he's trying to kind of, and I haven't seen Yellowtooth, but I guess capture that, utilize that spirit of the early seasons 100%. With a Western, make it so epic and on such a grand scale as well. So even though, yes, it's like we were saying earlier, it's like, 3 hours, 10 minutes running time. Even with that amount of time, you still couldn't tie up every narrative. I mean, you just set it up for part 2 as we'll get there. It's just impossible. And the guy's tried to do the best he can, in all fairness.
to be honest, to piggyback off, first to answer your first question, because I never did, I just gave you a roundabout workaround. I do think it will, but it might take until chapter 2 or 3 to find that out, because people will say like, oh wait, it all does tie together, you know, blah 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 blah. In addition to that, I think, you know, it's basically Costner showing that he could outright Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone, because Sheridan's writing held up until Costner was no longer the main character in Yellowstone. Then it no longer held up, because the character's John Dutton in that show wasn't anchoring the whole plot line. The problem is Sheridan does 3 or 4 other TV shows. He has Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. He already wrote 1883 and 1943 or 22, whatever the hell it was. Those are the Yellowstone prequels. And then Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. So Sheridan's got like 4 or 5 shows. Amazing writer, don't get me wrong, amazing writer, but he might be way more spread thin than Costner is, whereas Costner, he can take the whole thing. Now, it's kind of crazy that it's almost like Star Wars, where you write like this massive story and realize like, there's no way you could direct this in one movie. It has to be split into these chapters. So we'll see how that affects it as time goes on. But in terms of acting and writing, I think Costner outwrote Sheridan. I think the Yellowstone's the Horizon story is way better so far from what I see. Now, maybe Gaz and I are sitting back here on chapter 3 and chapter 4 and be like, the ending was poo. We hated it. Sucked. You know, maybe we come back and say the complete opposite thing, because we have no idea how the story's going to end. But on first installment, way better. I don't understand that criticism. I mean, it has a relatively average rating on IMDb, right? Was it like a 6-7? So I'm way higher than that. So I mean, I could see people giving it a 7 just because unresolved conflict. But again, when you're already told like this is it's you know how I feel when we were sat down and we were reviewing Dune Part 1, and Part 1 only spanned the first half of the book, and then you know the whole Part 2 is like, so because you had to split in 2. It's a bit like that feeling, like, hey, super dope beginning, great first half, but in terms of story, obviously you're not going to have all the knots tied, because it just doesn't make sense. But in terms of the characters, like you said, the Sykes family, super dope. Awesome. Just like almost all the characters were really dope. Worthington and Wilson, just almost every character we met, I thought did an amazing job. Did they cram in so many that they kind of dangled the carrot on some of them? Sam Worthington is Trent Gephardt. What's going on here? Is Pixie hating on Costner? Pixie.
Yeah, I'm just. I said to her we could do a Costner series for her, literally go through all of his movies, and she'd love that.
She's gonna go crazy. Yeah, no, we should Dances with Wolves. So what's your favorite one, Pixie? Waterworld. She's gonna go crazy when we do Dirty Harry, and we got some Clint Eastwood coming up for you. So just stay tuned. I mean, I don't know. Like, I didn't really think the pacing affected it until that last third, because the runtime started running out, and like that little conflict at the end, I kind of felt like they waited like almost a little bit too long for that, and it wasn't a real payoff.
The only other part I feel where it dropped off a bit was when they go down to the railroad scene. You've got the Chinese railroad workers, the character that's with Costner. I'm getting way ahead here. There's a little bit of downtime there. That's probably because I didn't really find a very strong character compared to the others, and that's just what I personally favored. No slight on the actress or that she wasn't good, because I can give the whole acting in the entire movie 10 out of 10 now. That is separate to my overall rating. The acting is absolutely incredible.
Absolutely.
Excellent all around. Very authentic as well.
Everyone cooked.
Yeah, and the only other slowdown, you're right, is literally the last 30 minutes, where it kind of leads up to something which I'm going to have to behave and wait till we get to that part.
Yeah, so essentially, as we said, when that lady escapes the Sykes patriarch at the beginning, she has her baby with her. That ends up in, when Hayes Ellison shows up about an hour into the movie, he ends up meeting the character who's watching after that baby. Obviously, the Sykes have dispatch their sons looking for it. That kind of, sets off that revenge story arc. Hayes kind of has a duel with one of those guys who gets sent back, and his older brother is the one kind of controlling them. But yeah, there's a lot of brutal stuff, like when they followed her to that first house and the dude was trying to give him the land and he freaking pistol whipped him. That was senseless deaths out on the frontier. That was a crazy death scene. And then the standoff in the gun shop was
just about to say that.
That was crazy too, right? Those dudes had a lot of firepower in there, and so it's a lot of like anti Native American racism and scalping and things of that usual themes. And then, as Gaz said, that building the railroad theme is common in the colonization of the American West. You see that in pretty much every Western movie. 310 to Yuma, that one was dope.
That was good as well.
I don't think I saw that. The Russell Crowe and Christian Bale.
And
that one. Bale's got a couple sick Westerns in his thing. One thing I was telling Gaz about is Wall Street. If you're still in there, I was looking for Giovanni Ribisi because they plastered his name all over the credits everywhere, and I was like, and like Gaz said, there was so many characters and the actors in this movie look so different because you usually don't see them full facial hair, long hair, and I was like, where the hell was Ribisi? I was like, did I miss him? And then at the very end, I think we can discuss this, Gaz, because it's not really like. They essentially play this long, like 5-minute trailer montage of Horizon Chapter 2 for you, which was like confusing on a bunch of different fronts. Cause I get like, hey, this is what's to come. But like, do you really want to see a massive freaking 10-minute trailer of the movie you're about to watch next time? So they basically showed you a quick reel of all the screens. And Ribisi was a part of that. So he essentially has 10 seconds of this movie with no dialogue, staring out a window frame.
The window frame. Literally.
It's like, wow, that's a really dope actor. I wonder if he's going to do something in part 2. But
his performance was...
Yeah. I was like, he probably got paid good money for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Slipknot, you brought up Gone in 60 Seconds earlier. So, yeah, Giovanni Ribisi's in, like, the boiler room, Gone in 60 Seconds. So, yeah, I know. You got to watch it just to see his little cameo there. That it would be.
You've got to, man. Just those killer 10 seconds. We'll do it for you. Just the whole. That'll be it. Man.
He looks ridiculous too, like full beard, completely overgrown hair, like ridiculous cowboy boots and pantaloons. You know what I mean? I mean, I think they're all 3 hours. I mean, it's Costner. He goes deep in his Western.
They'll have to do for the amount of characters and the story arcs it's setting up. To even resolve some of them, and there's going to be new characters. Well, you see that now.
That's what I was thinking too. As guys die off, there's going to be new factions. That's going to Costner said there's like 200-300 people involved. Like,
well, there's even that. They show you in right, folks. It's kind of a bit like the Back to the Future movies where they show you parts of like the next one. It's kind of like that. And there's one scene where there's Costner facing off with this. He either looks like a bad sheriff dude or the leader of a gang. And
brigands.
We saw them face. You see this clip of them facing off, and I thought, right, I want to see that. It did whet my appetite.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so I mean, you can see the trailer. It's on YouTube. Some guy says like, you better be careful, like wearing that pistol like that, or somebody's gonna take you and wrap you with it. And Costner goes, "What?" He just walks back, starts punching him in the face. Like it's like the American West. Like you don't talk crap to someone when you all have a gun on you. It means the bare minimum we're gonna fight. Like. And at the worst, it's just going to be a public shootout like every other scene in this movie. So 2 is already on IMDb. It's 3 hours and 10 minutes, not rated. And it says expected April 3rd in Germany. Let me see. Yeah, release date. So, I don't know. I was seeing stuff saying like it's out now or it's out soon, but I guess Costner was doing that streaming deal like Gaz was saying. So it'll probably show up on Netflix or Paramount TV or something. I don't know if he'll do the same deal as Yellowstone. That'd kind of be stupid. He should put it on something else like HBO or Netflix.
I guess that's one of my few criticisms of the film is, right, I enjoyed it, folks. Don't be thinking, oh, Gus didn't like it, blah, 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 blah. I did enjoy it, but it did feel like a TV series literally crammed into a movie, I guess, like, just over 3 hours. Let's try and get season 1 in here. And I feel it would have maybe done better going straight to a streaming platform or on TV. Although said that Ross, even for part 2, you could kind of do both. You know what they do with some of the movies now, where they'll be on the streaming services and then say they're in the theater for 1 week, like 1 week only deal or something. You could do that. So catch Horizon Part 2 theaters this week only, and it's also on demand. So that's how
I would go. I don't know if it debuted in IMAX. I assume it did, but I would go just to see it on the big, crispy screen with the if they shoot it with an IMAX camera, because if it's IMAX camera on an IMAX screen, that's really only things that you could see on both. If you watch that on your home TV, I hear what Gaz was saying. I think it would do well on streaming, probably do better on streaming. But like The Irishman, they did a short movie run, and then it was on Netflix. They've done that with a number of movies, like Gaz was saying. So I don't understand why what the problem was here, if it was just a business decision, which is also possible. I can pull up some plot so we can see what else happened. We won't ruin the whole thing for you guys, but we'll kind of
I'll try to
run through some things. Development. Costner rejected the idea that the development of the film series directly introduced his departure from Yellowstone. He explained that the final season would be restructured multiple times. It was subjected to various production delays, which conflicted with the production schedule on the prioritized film series. Cited example of the lack of completed scripts for last season, which would be split into 2 separate parts. Costner stated that he's open to completing additional photography to finish his role. However, the filmmaker stated that when he rewrites for the show were going on, he allowed Sheridan to read the script for the Horizon movies in hopes that it would inspire, while previously offering to provide assistance in writing his character out of Yellowstone in a climatic death scene. He reportedly offered to give some time off from his movie production schedule to do so, but these options have never materialized. And I don't know why he would let Sheridan even read Horizon. It sounds like Sheridan just got butthurt, oh, this is way better than mine, Kevin. I don't want to work anymore. I'm taking my ball and going home. Costner would direct his 4th feature, which I guess is this. Joint venture production company between Territory Pictures, Warner Brothers, and New Line Cinema. Warner Brothers is the distributor. A lot of money involved.
Yeah. Well, it has to be just for the sheer scale of it.
Yeah. I don't even know. It doesn't even have plot stuff on here, so me and Gaz could just kind of keep doing our thing.
Yeah, we're definitely getting some of the standout characters as well. Ones I particularly thought were definitely sick. We'll do all that for you. It's all just read as well. Apparently, Costner had the idea for an epic western back in 1988. So something he's always wanted to do.
It's like a passion project. He's been bouncing around, like Gaz was saying. You don't even watch Yellowstone, Pixie. You're banished from this review. But no, there are some sick characters. Even that kid who was the young kid who was the son in the beginning of that first shootout, like that for his age, that kid was an amazing actor. There's just it's not like I didn't really feel like the quintessential younger kid characters like bad actors in this movie. I felt like everybody they picked handled business.
They were all on point, all of them. I mean, obviously, yes, there is some characters that we both favour over others, just because that's our personal taste that stood out more. But even just the minor parts, such as when Costner arrives in that town, and I think he's just before Caleb kind of starts talking to him. The scene. Well, I kind of don't want to spoil that just yet. Yeah. You find out Costner's trading horses. Even some of the minor actors there. There's a scene with the lady comes out of kind of her establishment, I guess, for want of a better word, and there's the old guy who's asleep, and she's telling him to wake up, and he's like, oh. Even it's got little touches like that. Everything that you would expect to see in a western from those classics, with a bit of that humor mixed with the seriousness as well. None of that is skipped. They're all on point, man. Even the minor parts. When
the Apache tried to take that ukulele mini guitar thing from the dude, and he kept it. That was grimy. There's just especially in the death scenes and the faction on faction crime, And
the family with the gunpowder barrel.
That was insane. That finale of that scene, that's why I was like, oh my god, it's a hard R. You know what I mean? It's not and I could see why, because maybe that scale of violence, like some people are not used to like that, and maybe kind of slower westerns they've seen or whatever.
It's kind of reminds me of what we've now. Cash Gladiator Poo isn't good. Don't get me started again.
Yeah,
but it's like people were complaining. All right, there's too much violence and not enough story. Okay, yeah, a whole other review. Not one we're going to do. Terrible light version of Gladiator 1. That's all I'm going to say. But if you're going in to see like a western like this and that and an epic with the nature of what that plot involves, I'm not expecting to see some hard violence. The same with Gladiator. There was a clue in the title and I'm complaining, too much violence, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, there's kind of a big hint.
There's a hint in this one too. It's called the trailer of guys like screaming in his face and him drawing on people.
Yeah, so
might give you a little hint of what may happen in the movie.
But it is balanced. It's a long movie. There's a slowdown at the end. I feel there's a slowdown with the Chinese railroad as well. That's another slowdown part. Yeah. I guess some of the parts with the settlers convoy, those weren't my favorite scenes either. I found those a bit filler and a bit of a slowdown. But outside of that, it's really, to be honest, the pacing is good. You don't feel like, oh man, this is a drag. You're not clock watching like, oh man, right, yeah, I've got another like 60 minutes to get through.
I mean, it's just trying to settle like what life is like as a convoy, and obviously, like okay, so like I like what Chpt said to them when he's like, "Are you the first settlers here?" And they're like, "No, they are," to the graves, and he's like, "So you settled right next to these graves, and you didn't take that for some kind of sign?"
That was good.
That's like the mythos of the whole movie. It's like everyone keeps going back there, knowing what happened to the people before them, and yet they keep trying it. I
think with that later convoy, I just did not. I guess it just wasn't the most interesting part of the movie.
I agree with you. I'm expecting it to run into something that becomes an event. You know what I mean? So it's like just this is what they're doing now. It's
definitely set up for it though with those two guys, and I was trying to figure where, because I thought, right, where they're from, because one of them had a different accent. I thought, are they from Europe somewhere that settled? The two that were watching that girl bathe in the drinking water, and I thought, so it's setting for some kind of conflict to happen between them.
Definitely, that caravan leader is going to have to handle that. Man, what was I going to say? No. Sweet. Let's talk about Gary Post. What was I going to say? The pacing, even the conversationally driven scenes, I felt like every scene moved the plot forward to some degree, whether it was a conflict or whether it was one of those more like dialogue driven scenes. So up until right at the very end, where there's that last kind of conflict there. But I would say kind of what Gaz said about Mad Max Furiosa, which is that was a much smaller skirmish than what I've expected, since that first war party you saw was such a big battle scene. I thought like, and then the American army shows up right after that. I thought like there has to be some big, counterattack. Obviously, you can see Chpt is trying to avoid unnecessary conflict, which makes sense from because obviously if you're whatever in any position of authority in the army faction, you got your men's lives at stake, so you're not just going to go march them into a battle for
it was that fact they established very early on that they're grossly outnumbered as well, so they don't like you said, he doesn't want to drag his troops into that when
that's a major point too. The trope of American westerns showing natives from a position of weakness. The Apaches are not at a position of power in this film, and they have the numbers as state, like to the point, like Gaz just said, the American army is unwilling to attack first because it's like, well, we bring thousands of legions. Now the argument is like they're unorganized, because a lot of the natives run as like rogue, renegade operations. So even though they're all on the same side, they're not necessarily united militarily. But again, it's a family thing. Like you go back, kill a bunch of them for no reason, they all come back and come looking for you. That's the theme of Horizon.
However, that might differ with the son of the chief.
The internal conflict, sure.
That might differ in part too as it goes forward. That guy does get organized, especially when he finds out what obviously happens near the end of the film.
100%, 100%. Yeah. No, so you have internal conflict on both sides. Neither, like, the chief has a disagreement with his lead son, who's the leader of the war party, as Gad said. His name starts with a P. We'll probably horribly butcher Apache pronunciation, but as I recall, his name was.
Yeah, I'm looking for it as well.
Where the hell's that dude? Didn't say his. Am I looking at the right thing here? Whoa. No, I'm looking at chapter 2. Yeah, there's a bunch of new actors.
I think I found it.
Pionseni. Yeah. So he's the leader of the war party, has a disagreement with his father, who's the chief. Yeah. And it's the same thing. That's what I like the way they're showing it. It's the same thing on both sides. Like, the natives are unwilling to press unnecessary conflict. The American army is unnecessary. And that's the position of peace for both of them, you know?
Yeah.
So, but in between, you got more belligerent fighters on the Apache party, and then you got the scalpers who want revenge on the American scalpers want revenge on the Apaches. So it leads up to a nice little skirmish at the end there. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger, but I do like the way it played out in terms of that guy's like a retired officer or whatever, the leader of that party, and then they got the young kid with them who is the lookout. A very dope scene.
Russell is the character name. Yeah, he was good as well. He was a good actor. As I said, they all shine, even the minor parts. Some particularly standout for me was Caleb Sykes' brother. He was excellent. I think they call him
June. I think the older brother.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was really good. Because
he was awesome.
I found that whole family, even the mom, who, man, she could probably intimidate a quarterback.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of her. They could have even done the movie kind of with them hunting for Lucy. Because they're that strong. You could have even done a film just literally on that.
But again, we don't know where the other chapter is going to go. So there might be one chapter that pretty much focuses on that story arc. And get pretty much a whole solo movie of it, you know, with the ancillary background stuff. You know what I mean?
And I thought, you know, as she's getting Sam Worthington as lieutenant was good. Yeah. The sergeant played by the guy who's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, Michael Rooker.
He was good, and even the commanding officer, he was good as well. So they really stood out. Sienna Miller was pretty good. I just realized I'm virtually naming the whole cast. So I'm just
she was really good. Yeah, she's like, she has like a love interest with Trent Gephardt, so they have like a little weird cringy crush on each other scene. But it's fine, you know, you expect it. He's a good looking man. Something that's probably never been said on this show before. You can see I'm Ross Ellison, aka Hayes Ellison. Like I said, I like how he didn't just focus on himself character wise. I thought that was the smartest play of having him come in about halfway through there, and then obviously a big kind of exchange at the end that faces off to the different factions against each other. So. Epic American, Western epic drama, Western, written and directed by Costner and written by John Baird, and it looks like they had a couple other writers with them, Mark Caston. But as we said, it's I don't know what the critics were talking about. I mean,
dude. Oh, sorry. So go on, man. I'll send a minute. Sorry to cut in. I'm just
going to come back to ratings. I think it's criminal. It has a 6.7 on IMDb. That's bullcrap. And yet, I think he thought the Yellowstone fan base would support this, and they didn't. And like you said, I think a big reason to that is because Yellowstone is a streaming show. So like the streaming experience is totally different than the movie experience. People like watching Yellowstone at home with their families, and so the Yellowstone crowd just didn't come out. You know, for Horizon. I don't know.
You know the dude who leads the attack on the Native American settlement near the end of the film, and I was trying to remember the actor's name because you knew he'd seen him in something. Dude, it's Jeff Fahey. Didn't realize. I was like, man, oh, dude. I might say there's so many in this. Blink and you literally miss them.
Yeah, like I said, Will Patton. Like I saw a bunch of guys that I've seen in so many different other movies. And Yeah, Jeff's character was cool.
So he was in Wyatt Earp as well. Man, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'd have to run that back. Oh man, the way that big fight started. Well, not that big fight, but that end fight started. When that dude was trying to scalp the body, and Yuan stuck that spear through his back. Some of the kills were insanely brutal, guys. Like even for a Western, like you prepare yourself with it because it's like, American colonists going out to the Old West. I wonder how it's going to go. You have an idea from the trailer, and then, but like we said, in terms of, how that one grimy scumbag dude with the scalps, how Jeff just like that was awesome too, because it was just like, hey, this guy's scum, Well, there's some cool stuff there. That was like an old like Western theme of just kind of anything goes,
You could argue that there's definitely part one sets up, obviously part two, it's world building, it establishes future story arcs, because there's obviously a lot left unresolved, but also giving motivations on both sides for vengeance as well. Look, they brutally raided us, they killed all our families, did all of this, right? Then they did exactly the same, and like it's kind of like a tennis match with them.
Yeah, revenge thing.
Yeah, so
the vendetta. That's an old Sicilian vendetta. Yeah, Luke Wilson was Matthew Van Wyden.
Right.
Todd Allen was Buckshot. It's absolutely stacked. I do want to check out Thicket as well because I'm interested to see.
There's one I've been talking about with Ross off air, guys, and I'm going to. If I've got a link, I'll drop it for you. And if this is decent, perhaps we could cover this. And it's on Netflix. It's called Oregon Trail. I don't know if anybody's seen that yet. It was on at the theaters. So that's one I'm going to check out. And then there's another, which is on IMDb, I saw as we were getting our notes and things prepped for this. And I think it's called The Convert, and it's set in 19th century New Zealand. A lay preacher arrives at a British settlement in the 1830s. His violent past is soon drawn into question, and his faith is put to the test. Finds himself caught in the middle of a bloody war between the Maori tribes. So that's one
that sounds sick.
Look at as well, yeah.
Maori movies are crazy. Badlands is one of the craziest
movies. Yeah, man. But I'd definitely recommend Horizon to you for those who are fans of Westerns. I know Fire Pixie isn't going to be rushing out to see this, but for everyone else, definitely it's a good solid Western. The scale of it in terms of the production, the cast, everything is there, and it's a good solid movie.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And like I said, Costner's directing top notch, cinematography, color grading. In terms of landscapes and the wide pans, cinematography, landscape, wide pan shots, as Gaz was saying, which is prominently featured in Yellowstone, but I think quite a bit better done this. But as we said, kind of criminal. It only has a 6.7 on Horizon. I totally disagree with the whole narrative of just people hating on it just because they didn't understand the Western. I get it. If it was your first Western movie you've ever seen and you've never seen the genre, it's 3 hours long. It was probably too much. I know Slippy, you recommended Dan Movies Cave, and I know you said they're on hiatus, but I'll go back and I'll watch some of their stuff anyway and shoot them a comment now that me and Gaz are going to be getting more Westerns going for 2025. We're definitely going to get for a few more dollars because that is the Spaghetti Western remake of Yokimbo. So we'll definitely be doing some more Kurosawa starting with next week. We have Rashomon. True crime heads, you're going to want to tune in for Rashomon, even if you don't know what a samurai movie is, or you don't know what like Japanese cinema is, or you don't know anything about Kurosawa. You're going to definitely want to tune in to Rashomon. Rashomon is about there's even a whole school of thought called the Rashomon effect, which is it's about a crime. Okay, Rashomon is about a crime that takes place in feudal Japan, and then when the authorities go and interview each witness, they each give a differing account. And that's a very common thing in crime and in true crime. It's a very old concept, but holds up all the way to this modern cases that happen today. If you ask 5 people what the suspect looked like much like Zodiac, much like Berkowitz, all this stuff, you get 5 different descriptions. It's really interesting how, especially in a moment of crisis, how people's perception and interpretation of what they saw changes. And that really is, I think, like Rashomon is like the best example of that. So next week, Rashomon, the 14th, Fire Pixie will be happy.
Dirty Harry, isn't it?
Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood, the Zodiac case in film form. So get ready for that. Of course, the Dirty Harry franchise. We're going to try to do The Boys season 4, guys. Make sure you catch up.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to end the year with Nosferatu. After that, probably some Westerns and some more Kurosawa, some indies. Evolutionary's out now. I crowdfunded it. Go check that out. And I think we're going to get an update on Desert Fiends here, too, which I think will be up Gaz's alley.
Yeah. Did you want to cover Wicked? I thought that was one of your topics to go out with.
No, I think that was Mac. Mac's solo channel. He's going to kill it. If he ever comes back, he's going to kill us when he sees us roasting him. I think we can get into ratings for Horizon, folks. That about does it for the schedule. Hell yeah. I gave it an 8. I could be anywhere between an 8, 8.5. Like I said, the pacing really didn't hit me till the very end of the movie, where it was just like getting a little dialogue-y, and I was like, okay, it's been 3 hours, but I still want to see where it goes because I really like the characters, and I'm ready for Chapter 2. Like Gaz said, hopefully it hits streaming and we can all get easy access to it. But Horizon, Kevin Costner, fire. I gave it an 8, but I'm feeling like an 8.5 right now.
I'm between 7.5 to 8, I'd say. Acting 10 out of 10, definitely. Cinematography 10 out of 10. Soundtrack, even though it hurt my ears, because it's the authentic kind of Billy Bob Fiddle stuff. But it's
you wouldn't like the Yellowstone music.
No, I certainly wouldn't.
Modern country.
Oh yeah, I don't know romantic music, but country is just something. Yeah. But. Now I've lost train of thought. Is this about attack country music? Yeah, I'd say 7.5 to 8. But the acting, soundtrack, the authenticity, the sheer ambition with it, 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I am excited for 2 because what we saw in that montage looked like it had more action in it.
I agree.
And some new characters. There's a part, folks, spoiler alert, where it shows you Costner kind of having like a bare knuckle fight as well with someone. I thought, oh man, yeah, I want to see that. It was something I really liked to Warrior was a bare knuckle boxing in that.
Quite a few shootouts, but kind of got this movie in the first one.
Death, well, that's actually Max. Those are Max PXF classics, the Death Wish movies. So if Max
I wait for Mac. I don't want to do Death Wish without Mac. I do want to do a poll, though. I do want to do a poll for you guys. What is the best vigilante revenge franchise? Death Wish, John Wick. What was the other one I was thinking of? Death Wish, John Wick, Dirty Harry, kind of. What other vigilante revenge franchises? Well, we'll definitely do a poll on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
But Charlie Bronson's a man. We do have a couple. We had Red Sun, right, with John Wayne, and then I thought Charlie Bronson was in one of those kind of westerny samurais, or that's the one I sent you guys. I forgot the title of it, but we have it written down.
I think isn't the one that I'm sure there's one very classic film where he does play Native American Charles Bronson, a western. It's been on TV.
I think I have the thing. I can't remember if this is Bronson and Death Rides a Horse.
Right.
So I think that I don't know if that's one of them.
I'm just doing a quick search now. Yeah, Red Sun's in Once Upon a Time.
I guess the Transporter is like semi-vigilante action revenge, but like I don't know. He does more transporting.
I think I found it. Chatto's Land. That's it.
The best one.
Yeah.
John Wick is up there.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, the Man from Nowhere, the Asian ones.
Yeah, oh man, those are fire.
The Korean ones, I Saw the Devil. I Saw the Devil was crazy. That could be a borderline PXF classic for me.
Yeah.
I think we're going to land the plane, guys. Horizon out now. What's your favorite franchise action series? We'll get Death Wish on 2025. You got to lobby Mac to come back.
Yeah.
Next week, Rashomon Kurosawa returns to the channel, dual stream. We could get that on here and Mosh Shinobi. That way, once we start covering the Kurosawas, we'll have the backups on both channels. Go get the comic book on Amazon. That's about it. Dirty Harry coming up in 2 weeks, and then we got to put together next week's schedule, or next quarter's schedule, and we got a couple indies and some new stuff, special PXF co-sign films that we crowdfunded that we'll be promoting, some underground stuff.
Thanks for coming through, everyone. It was good to see you as always. Pixie, I know this wasn't exactly your thing today, but thanks for suffering it anyway. It's much appreciated. Shout out to Epic, dude. It's only taken me like 900 million years to realize who you are, Epic. That's said to me the other week, and I was like, oh yeah, it's true. Finally, the switch clicked.
5 years into the show. Good work.
Yeah. But shout out to you all, much appreciated. Have a good one. We shall see you next week as always. Our recommendations for both major and indie films, something that you think we would be interested in, or things that you would like us to cover in 2025 as well. We've mentioned cryptid creatures, things like that. We can look at those for you too. So drop those and we will. Yep, Slip's got a question.
In the meantime, go subscribe to my Patreon on free through your Google. Eventually, there's going to be some like behind the paywall stuff over there. But in the meantime, I have one more. That's very easy, Slipknot, The Godfather. I mean, Goodfellas is close, but not on the level of The Godfather.
Yeah, Godfather 2 as well is my personal favorite.
Goodfellas is outstanding, but it's no Godfather. I'm sorry, Francis Ford Coppola on that one. I do have one more Most Dangerous Game adaptation to do, Deadly Prey. I haven't gotten to it yet, but probably do it the next couple of weeks or so. Try to get it done before the new year. So check that out. No, Goodfellas is amazing, man. Goodfellas is genius, but I've seen it too many times, and it doesn't have Marlon Brando in it, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro, and Godfather does. It also has Robert Duvall, ensemble cast. But yeah, Godfather 2 would definitely be in my PXF Classic, much like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're always down for some Scorsese versus. I would rewatch it. I mean, I think if you rewatch 1 and 2 back to back, you'll have a different perception. I want to see the version of 3. He supposedly recut that director's cut remaster. The what do they call it? The Code of Omerta, the Coda of Omerta or something. It's kind of like a new version, new cut version of 3. So I want to get that. I want to check that out, and maybe we'll review that to you guys. Yeah, I like Dog Day Afternoon. I mean, he plays a bit of a Fanut character in it, but it's a great film. All right, guys, on that note, hopefully that didn't get me demonetized. On that note, we're going to take it out next time. Like, sub, share, click join for a membership. Join my Patreon free. Godfather 2 is so goated. I did too. I like that young De Niro performance. All right, guys, Horizon out now. Go check it out. Horizon Chapter 2. Serpico is sick too. Doing a Serpico thing like Charlie from Sunny. Right, Wally? All right. We're out, guys. Like, sub, share. Next week, come on. Kurosawa. True crime heads turn in. Zodiac, Cooper, whatever your true crime fix is. Tune in for the Rashomon. I recommend you guys either rent or stream Rashomon. Find it wherever you can. Akira Kurosawa is the director. Ancient Japanese samurai film, and it's gonna be sick. It's gonna scratch the Mosh Shinobi Ninja Samurai itch. It's gonna scratch the true crime itch. It's gonna scratch all that stuff. All right, we're out. Like, sub, share, peace. Thanks for coming through, guys. Slipknot, Fire Pixie, Epic, Wall Street, and whoever came out. We're out. Horizon, Costner, check it out. Yellowstone season 5. Horizon's better. Sorry, all the genius film critics and newspaper journalists. You guys were wrong. Paradigm Review Show #1.